What is going on, guys and girls? It is Ghost Robo, and welcome to some more Evolve. Today, another brand new hunter enters the arena, this time an assault. Parnell, what kind of pain do you bring?
Parnell is the assault class, and the damage dealer in the group. The Super Soldier ability increases fire rate and movement speed at the cost of health points. The combat shotgun is a fully automatic, short-range damage dealer. The multi-fire rocket launcher is also fully automatic and excels at long-range combat. Remember to use the personal shield.
Very interesting quad of cool skills for Parnell, and as you know by now, this is not my footage. It's taken straight from the studio, and I've sliced out the audio because there was overlapping commentary, and that would just make all of our brains boil. Instead, let's focus in on what Parnell can do. He is an assault class who has no secondary sources of aggression. He's not calling in strikes, he's not lobbing grenades, it's all coming straight from his two hands. So he has the up-close automatic shotgun and the more distance automatic rocket launcher, but where his class, where his character, where his hunter is most defined is in that super soldier ability, I believe, because it gives him a lot of flexibility in terms of how he carries out attacks, and as we've been talking a lot about recently, gives him more combo potential than possibly any of the other assaults. Now we know all three assaults, so it's kind of interesting to see how they have sort of shifted out in terms of what role they fill. You know, you've got an electric guy, a fire guy. I didn't know if this guy would take on another element, but he seems to take on the element of speed. He can increase his movement speed and his firing rate while sacrificing health. But the thing I think of right off the bat is Kyra is the medic that's part of this third and final hunter group here, and she has the ability to also increase movement speed and to lob healing grenades. So imagine a case in which you supercharge Parnell and then lob grenades in to heal him up and negate that health point, the lost health point, the lost hit points from his super soldier ability, and then that nullifies that. It's basically back to status quo with health, and yet he has all of this speed to go ham on whatever evil monster he faces off against. I think he could be a pretty darn deadly assault, and it seems like he's going to use a lot more mobility than the others. You know, typically I think assault is probably the easiest class to play in this game. If you're going to assign someone to play Markov or now to play Parnell or whatnot, Hyde, I think it could be the weakest person in your group, or maybe the newest Evolve player, because primarily their focus is just on dealing damage, which is something that anyone who's played a shooter can probably do pretty well and focus in on, whereas the other classes, support and medic, in particular, I feel, require a lot more coordination, and then Trapper has a little bit more precision necessary in terms of that dome. But Assault, not to say that it's not important, because it super is. You need Assault to be on point if you want to be effective as the group of humans, but I think it's the one that's the most straightforward. And Parnell he mixes in a little bit of nuance there. I feel like he might be the most, on the surface level, he seems like the simplest assault, but maybe he in fact could be the most tricky to use, but then perhaps have the most benefit, because you're not really tethering on, you're not really using just a humongous, wide, swathing flame thrower. Instead, you have these weapons that, obviously, there's one that's close range and one that's far, and so you can get in there and do some good grinding damage, and then you can pull back and still damage from afar. But I think his ability is really going to work in tandem with some of the other teammates in some interesting ways. So you already know that kind of the way that assaults are best supported is by the support and sort of supporting them with a shield. They've got their own shield. You can sort of shield cycle. Can we say shield a few more times? You can shield cycle so that he is protected at all moments, or as many as you can try to keep him safe. But now the fact that he has an opportunity to really increase his skills, and if paired with the right group of characters, maybe not even take a penalty, could make him devastating. So imagine a Parnell where he's firing rockets at the monster, and the monster, especially Goliath, has to close the gap at some point if they want to do any damage. So Parnell is firing rockets from afar, and then he gets shielded, and then he uses his super soldier ability, and he goes in head-to-head, just bum-rushing Goliath with the combat shotgun. In the meantime, Kyra is lobbing in health grenades to negate that hit point deficit, and before you know it, Goliath is just mushed monster meat at your feet. I wonder how that would factor in against Kraken, because now, with his rocket launcher, it's a little bit more tricky to hit. With his combat shotgun, I don't even know Like, see, this is where specific matchups are going to be crucial, and almost borrows something of a MOBA feel in that sense. Like, specific matchups really become necessary. Even a very quick-moving Goliath, as we're seeing here, is more difficult to hit with those rockets. So you face Kraken, if you don't get him harpooned and within range, your combat shotgun is going to pretty much be useless in that sense. So it's cool to see how they have kind of very intelligently balanced these guys out. And it seems like there are a lot of sort of, we talked about this last time too, are there perfect teams that work better together? Like, is Kyra and Parnell just like, is that a go-to pair that you're going to want to sidekick up with anytime you partake as either that medic or that assault? And will, for example, Parnell be able to be effective with Val, or will Kyra be able to be effective with Hyde? And that's something that we still will need to see, obviously, a lot more, sort of in the public's hands gameplay to really know. But I think it is cool that clearly, now that we know, we really know all 12 of the starting, the base game hunters, but we've seen action of 11 of the 12, combos begin to form in your head, and you can start to begin to plan strategically, and then come up with some tactical combos that will really, really help the hunters. Now, monster-wise, monster play, I feel like Monster is the one that is the easiest to jump into as a single person, right? As a lone wolf, because you're not really relying on anybody else, and you just do your own thing. It's pretty straightforward to play the Monster, but I begin to worry about the quality of monster opponents I'll be facing, because you're seeing so many different sort of perfect storms that hunters can bring at the monster, but what can the monster bring at them? From a tactical approach, the monster has 4 attacks. Now, granted, there are 3 monsters, and I guess it's like how... This is super granular, but who gets to pick first? Does the monster key in first and then the hunters can key in after? Is it a blind draw? How is that going to really work? Because it's clear as these hunters just wipe through this monster, and we've seen it before of hunters just wrecking monsters, that if you have sort of the right team against the right monster, you can deal massive damage and just dispose of them quickly. Same goes true for the monster. So how will this all balance out? I'm interested to see how that takes shape over the next couple months. Let me know your favorite hunter now that we've seen gameplay of 11 of them down in the comments below. You want to see more Evolve? Just smash that like button. I do appreciate it. Fantastic day, guys and girls. Love checking these characters out with you. So until next time, drink some hot chocolate. Thanks again, and we will see you all later.